Today we're going to tackle one of the most incredible stories in all of history. It's about an emperor who built his empire with a sword and then, in a move that's just, wow, completely shocking, tried to rule it with a message of peace. We're talking about the story of Ashoka.
So you gotta ask, right? How does that even happen? How does a ruthless conqueror become a messenger of peace? It sounds like something out of a movie, but it's a true story. And to really get it, we first need to understand the world Ashoka was born into. Okay, so before this massive change of heart, there was a massive empire. And I mean massive. The Mauryan Empire was an absolute powerhouse. It dominated the Indian subcontinent. We're talking about a world of just immense power, luxury, and of course, military might.
And you know what's cool? We actually have an eyewitness account of this from a Greek ambassador named Megasthenes. And his description, it paints a picture of just incredible pageantry. Think about it. The emperor carried in a golden palanquin, guards on elephants decked out in gold and silver. This wasn't just about having power. It was about putting on a show. An empire built not just on armies, but on this overwhelming spectacle of wealth and authority.
And the empire's influence was, well, literally etched into the landscape. You see structures like the Great Stupa at Sanchi, which got its start back in Ashoka's time. These weren't just religious sites. No way. They were massive public statements, declarations of the empire's stability, its reach, and its cultural power for everyone to see. So let's zoom in on the heart of it all, the capital city, Pataliputra. And listen, this wasn't just any city, it was a fortress. We're talking a massive wall, 570 towers, 64 gates. This place was designed to scream absolute control. It was the nerve center of this sprawling, powerful state, ready for anything. Or so they thought. But you know how it is with empires this powerful. They always want more. And there was this one piece of the puzzle still missing. One independent kingdom that stood outside their control. A place called Kalinga. And conquering it? Well, that would turn out to be the single most important event in Ashoka's entire life.
On the surface, the story is pretty straightforward. 8 years into his reign, Ashoka did what powerful kings do. He marched his army to conquer the last major territory that was defying him. You know, it was a standard move, right out of the empire-building playbook. But the result was anything but standard. The victory at Kalinga was total. It was absolute. But the cost, my goodness, the cost was staggering. What happened after the battle would haunt the emperor and completely change the course of his reign forever.
Just try to wrap your head around this number. 150,000 people captured. Think about that. That's 150,000 entire lives, just uprooted and changed forever by one single conquest. And believe it or not, that was just the beginning of the cost.
And then there's this. More than 100,000 people killed in one campaign. Ashoka got his victory, no doubt about it. Kalinga was conquered. But standing there, amidst that unimaginable carnage, something inside the conqueror just broke.
And this right here, is the moment everything changes. We're moving away from the cold, hard statistics of war and into the conscience of a king. Because for Ashoka, this huge victory felt like a catastrophic, soul-crushing defeat.
And we have it, in his own words, carved into stone for all time. Listen to this. This isn't some kind of political spin. This is a raw, personal confession of grief and remorse from the most powerful man on the subcontinent. He's not just mourning the soldiers. He's mourning the families, the friends, the entire social fabric that was torn apart by his own ambition. It's just incredible. So what do you do with that kind of sorrow, especially when you're a king? Well, Ashoka channels it into a completely revolutionary new idea for what an empire could be. He decides he's going to rule not through conquest, but through a principle he called Dhamma. And this table here, it just shows a complete and total rejection of the old way of doing things. I mean, look at this. Instead of conquest, he chooses compassion. Instead of ruling by fear, he wants respect. He wanted to literally replace the rule of the sword with the rule of a moral idea. For an ancient empire, this was a truly radical experiment. So what exactly is this Dhamma? Well, it's not a specific religion, and that's really important. Think of it more like a universal moral code. It was Ashoka's answer to all the violence he had seen. It was his way of trying to bind his incredibly diverse empire together, not with force, but with shared ethical values.
And these weren't just, abstract ideas he was thinking about. He translated Dhamma into real, practical, everyday actions.
He had these principles carved onto pillars and rocks all throughout his empire, basically urging his people to be kind, to be respectful, and to be compassionate in their daily lives.
And this is what's truly mind-blowing for the time. While other empires were built on forcing everyone to have the same culture or religion, Ashoka made tolerance a state policy. He understood that a diverse empire could only find peace through mutual respect. I mean, come on, that's a message that still rings true today, isn't it?
So after all this, what is the ultimate legacy of Ashoka? How do we remember this king who walked such a completely unique path, from unbelievable violence to nonviolence?
And here's the thing that makes him stand out in all of human history. Plenty of rulers have talked about peace, right? Usually after they've been defeated. Ashoka might be the only king ever to win a massive, decisive war, see the devastation it caused, and then completely renounce warfare as a result. He literally traded the glory of conquest for a much, much harder path.
And all of this leaves us with one final, really powerful question. Was Ashoka's grand experiment a success? Can an empire, a state built on might and power, truly be ruled by peace and compassion? It's a question Ashoka himself grappled with over 2,000 years ago, and honestly, it's a question we are all still debating today.